So we are completing our series this month called Choosing Success. Choosing Success with the last two spiritual laws of success about detachment and dharma. Detachment and dharma. And my talk, of course, is embracing the chaos. And when I picked up the Science of Mind magazine this morning for September, the reading today for the daily guide is Calm the Chaos with Hope. Imagine that. But I like the quote that they used from Mahatma Gandhi. And it says, I can see that in the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists. God is life, truth, light. God is love. God is the supreme good. I just thought that was a beautiful, beautiful quote this morning from Gandhi around the idea of chaos. And the article that the lady wrote after that, she's talking about how she just moved into a nice, big, spacious office. And in doing so, of course, she walked into the office and went, oh my gosh, boxes everywhere. We all know what that's like when we move, right? Or rearrange something, and we suddenly have all the clutter and the chaos around us. But yet we know that as we approach that chaos, that there's beauty on the other side of it, don't we? We know we just have to get through the boxes and get them out to the curb or whatever we're going to do with them to recycle them. But we know that as soon as we get through that mess and that clutter, we're going to have the beauty of that new, bigger environment that she's going to have in her office there. And that's what we're talking about today, is getting through the chaos of our lives and looking at these two spiritual laws. And as I've prepared for the talk, the first one being about the law of detachment, I have realized, remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about how Mary Morrissey had shared in Prosperity Plus that we sometimes live from conditions, that we look around our life and say, oh yeah, I believe in infinite possibilities, but because of this I couldn't possibly do that, right? I couldn't possibly have that as my dream because just look at my life. And so we live a conditioned-based life. And as I've looked at detachment, I realize that as the things that I'm attached to now are things I've created in the past, aren't they? So those attachments that we have can be things that we've created in the past, living in the past. Living in the past. And in the sixth spiritual law, the law of detachment, Deepak Chopra says, in detachment lies the wisdom of uncertainty. In detachment lies the wisdom of uncertainty. And in the wisdom of uncertainty lies the freedom from our past, from the known, which is the prison of past conditioning. He goes on to say, and in our willingness to step into the unknown, the field of all possibilities, we surrender ourselves to the creative mind that orchestrates the dance of the universe. Isn't that beautiful? And I had an aha with that this week. You know, I shared the one I had a couple of weeks ago with Mary's comment, just the way that she presented that whole idea of living a conditioned-based life. And this one helps me to realize that, yes, I have a belief in infinite possibilities, all possibilities. I have that belief. But I also have an unwillingness to live in uncertainty. So I can't really step into infinite possibilities if I'm not willing to step into uncertainty, can I? If I can't step into this mystery of life and be okay with it as it is, with the unknown, because all I'm doing is creating from the same box of Play-Doh that I've always been creating out of, right? As opposed to allowing infinite possibility to work in my life. And I think this is what Ernest Holmes, the founder of founder of Centers for Spiritual Living and the author of The Science of Mind, was getting at in his book when he said, because we fail to recognize that principle is not bound by precedent. We've all heard that, haven't we? I've heard it for over 20 years. Principle's not bound by precedent. It means the law is infinite. He goes on to say that we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished, and few miracles result. Same idea, isn't it? When through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, there are no limitations, and what are called miraculous results follow. He's saying the same thing that Deepak is saying about infinite possibilities, isn't he? That principle works always and is not bound by anything that's ever come before it. The idea of infinite possibilities. And when we allow our faith, not limiting our faith, when we allow our faith to be large and open, then we can allow that field of infinite possibilities to work in our lives for us and not limit it through our own thinking, because we have the power of our thoughts to lift up or limit our thinking. So as I was doing my prep for the talk, I came across that saying, everything I have ever let go of has claw marks on it. It's usually the cat, scraping down a t-shirt, right? And as I thought about that, I realized that there have been circumstances, situations, people, relationships and such, jobs, that I've probably hung on to too long. Am I the only one? Yeah. And yeah, when we finally let go and we look back and we go, why did I hang on to that so long? Right? Because suddenly the good that we've been struggling to create comes flooding into our lives. Comes flooding into our lives, the new job, the new relationship, the new friends, whatever it might be, suddenly comes flooding in. So as I've reflected on the law of detachment, I've begun to lean into this idea of surrender, to lean into the idea of surrendering in this field of pure potentiality. Now, when we say surrender, we think of the white flag and giving up. But if you think of what you're surrendering into, which is infinite possibilities, and if infinite possibilities is all good, wow, that's really opening up to possibility in our lives. And I think surrendering into infinite possibilities is not just when we're really stuck, when we really don't know. I've seen many prayers and heard many prayer requests for clarity. I don't know what to do. I just need clarity. I just need clarity. We've all been there. I've said that prayer. I just need clarity. But that's not the one we're talking about here. We're talking about this idea of every day, in every way, in every moment, surrendering to the wisdom that there are infinite possibilities available to me. You had an experience of that, an infinite possibility you couldn't see coming at all. At all. Those things we say are out of the blue, those things we call miracles, those are the infinite possibilities working in our life, spirit working in our lives. It's funny as I think about this. What's that song we sing at the end of service? I release and I let go. I let spirit run my life. I've been singing it for over 20 years. But this puts a new perspective on it, doesn't it? I release. I let go. I allow the uncertainty. I allow infinite possibilities. I allow the divine to work in my life. Dan Millman is the guy that wrote the book Peaceful Warrior. And he says, faith means living with uncertainty, feeling your way through life, letting your heart guide you like a lantern in the dark. And of course, we know that light within us is spirit, isn't it? We know that that light within us is spirit. So I release and let go in faith, knowing that I live from and in this field of infinite possibilities. So how does this idea of detachment work with the seventh law, which is the law of dharma, or purpose in our lives? Deepak says that everyone has a purpose in life, a unique gift or special talent to give to others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and exaltation of our own spirit, which is the ultimate goal of all goals. Anybody like Chinese food? Fortune cookies. Maybe not the cookie, but the fortunes, right? Well, Ron and I went out for Chinese food on Thursday night, the big rainstorm that came, right? And at the end of the dinner, the fortune cookies come, and I took mine and opened it up, and I had 3 fortunes inside my cookie. Tell me Prosperity Plus is not working in my life. Okay, that said, Ron's fortune was more applicable to our talk today. It said, you have a remarkable power which you are not using. Dharma, right? Dharma. And it's interesting, this is the actual fortune that came out, and you can see the corners torn off. When the cookie got folded in the dough, it got stuck in there, and it's metaphysically, power's cut off. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was really quite cute, the way the corner of power was torn off in that statement. So you may be familiar with this law of Dharma from Buddhism, or maybe from the book study that we did a couple of years ago, Stephen Cope's The Great Work of Your Life. The whole book was about our Dharma and discovering that. Or maybe you're more familiar with the parable of Jesus in the New Testament, where he talks about the 3 talents. And the 3 talents, the owner of the farm gave 3 of his servants talents or gifts to hold for him while he was away. And one he gave, his most trustworthy, he gave him 5. The next person he gave 2. And the last one he gave 1 to. And the one that he gave 5 to went out and doubled the talents, brought back 10 to the owner. The one that he gave 2 to went out and doubled that to 4. The one that he only gave 1 to, the one that he gave the least to, buried his talent. He knew the owner, and he knew if he lost it or it got stolen or anything happened to it, that the owner would just, he feared him. He was terrified of him. So he buried it in the ground. He hid it away. And when the owner came back, the one with 5 delivered 10. He was praised. You're a very worthy servant. The one with 2 came back with 4, same thing. He was praised. But the one with 1 came back humbly and handed it back and said, here's your talent back. I kept it safe. I know you. I fear you. And therefore, I didn't want to lose it. And the owner was furious. He said, the least you could have done was put it in the bank and earn some interest. But here you just buried it in the dirt, didn't do anything with it whatsoever. And that's very much the way our gifts and talents are, because the piece of this law that Deepak talks about is that sharing of those talents, circulating those talents. Because if you think about the fact that we are all one, we're all in the one, there's only one mind, one life, we're all in it. And if I come into this existence with a gift or a talent and I don't share it, I bury it, then there's something missing in the whole, isn't there? Because I'm not sharing my gift with everybody else. Somebody needs my gift. And the same is true for all of us. If we have that talent and we are not willing to give and share it, we are depriving the whole of its wholeness. We need to be able to share those gifts and talents. We have individual DNA within us. We have individual fingerprints. We have individual talents. Now, I've often said, I don't have any of those creative talents. I'm not creative. Anybody's been in class with me knows that I draw really well, right? Can all affirm that for me. And I don't have, like Lori has this beautiful ability to be able to look at an environment and make it beautiful. She's just got that spacious way about her. She paints and does those big murals and all that lovely stuff. And some of us have talents with our hands. Some of us have talents with our minds. Some of us have talents that are just who we are, who we be, how we show up in the world. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are a world-class artist or musician. It might be that that's our gift to give to the world, is our art or our music. But it's my impact on how I show up with others. Is it my kindness to other human beings or animals? Am I the best mom or dad on the planet? Or did I maybe miss that mark a little bit and I'm the best grandparent on the planet? That's where I show up with my joy. That's where I shine. What is your gift? What is your talent that you are here to share with the world? It could be something professional. It could be something personal and very much in your family circle, your friends, your spiritual community. It could be the way that you volunteer. What is that gift that is uniquely you? That is uniquely you. Now, many of us struggle with this, and believe it or not, a good way to begin to discover this is through television dramas. Through television dramas. Now, Ron and I have gotten hooked on Yellowstone. Anybody else watch Yellowstone? Kevin Costner? Oh, come on, Kevin Costner, he's wonderful in it, yeah. They've got a lot of Dharma going on that show. We won't talk about that one, but we've gotten hooked on another little show we've been watching lately called Burn Notice. And it's about a CIA agent who gets dismissed against his will by the CIA. And in the show, there is a woman who was trained by the IRA. And so she's into guns and explosions. So everything she does is either analyzing what the gun is or what the explosion, what caused it, or she's creating them. One of the two. And her classic line in the show is, "Should we shoot them?" That's her go-to response. So that's kind of her dharma, right? But when you look at Michael Weston, who is the agent that got burned, his history is one of an abusive father, an abusive family. He always protected his little brother. He left home at an early age and joined the military. He looked for that structure that was a safer structure than what he was used to in the volatility of the home. He then was recruited by the CIA, another family, but to give service, right? And now that he's gotten out, he's being asked to help people in the community, people who get tangled up with some of the bad guys or get scammed with their money, stolen away in these scams and things. And he goes in and gets their money back for them. And it's interesting when we look at people's dharma, how it consistently shows up no matter what environment they're in. No matter what environment they're in. If they're in the workplace and they have a giving heart, I've got friends that I've worked with in the past that were just people that had to share food. They had to cook, they had to share food, they had to bring food, they had to make sure the food was set up and brought in and put out and all of that. It happens in my office. There's always one person. There's always one person that does that stuff. It happens here. It happens a lot of places, but that's their giving nature, is through the idea of food and sustenance, that tactile environment. There maybe is someone that has to give of their art, or someone that always has the music. It's either something recorded or it's something Glenn used to always bring his guitar every time we go on retreats and stuff in ministerial school. That's who he is. He's the music guy, right? He brings his music. What is your gift that you bring and that you share? Is it your kindness? Is it your love? Is it your sense of calm? What is your gift that you bring? Many of us are unclear and frequently ask, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Why am I here? There's got to be a bigger purpose. It's a great question to ask your family and friends. Because just like we can look at the TV and see these characters developed and see what their dharma is woven throughout the show as we get to know them, our friends and family know that about us. They know that about us. You can use the fortune cookie, actually. You can say, hey, I heard about this fortune cookie that says I have a remarkable power that I'm not using. Any idea what that might be? Any idea what that might be? And they might just tell you. And you might be surprised. You might be surprised. If nothing else, it will cause your mind to begin to search for that. What could that be? What could that be? What talent do I have that I'm not sharing with the world? So Deepak closes out this chapter, with an interesting statement. He says, discover your divinity, find your unique talent, serve humanity with it, and you can generate all the wealth that you want. And I love that last piece. And I'm going to go back to Michael Weston, our burned CIA agent, because when he gets people's money back, like the show we just watched, the money that was stolen was $250,000. He got back more than that. He got back, I don't know, some $300,000-400,000, whatever it was. He gave all of it to the person that had been scammed, not just the $250 and take the rest for himself. He gave all of it to the family that had lost their money, taking out only for his expenses. And that was all the wealth he wanted. It was just to cover his expenses, have him break even, basically. So whatever that definition of wealth for you is, all the wealth that you want, is it enough to break even? Is it a little bit more? Is it a tremendous amount that you can give and share? Is it a tremendous amount that you can go build something huge through which you can share your gifts and talents to a broader audience? How much do you want? Only you get to decide that, right? What's right in your heart, what that means for you. We see folks like Tony Robbins, the charismatic speaker and writer. He's a big person, isn't he? He's like 6'8". He's a really big person. Big personality, loud personality, motivational speaker. Thousands of people show up to hear him, buy his books, do his programs, sharing his gifts and his talents with the world. He's now expanding that and bringing in partners that he's partnering with for even greater good that can flow out into the world. We see it in Mary Morrissey's work. We see it in many, many other people out on the scene that are sharing their work. It doesn't have to be on that scale, though, does it? It can be on a small scale. It can be on a small scale, a very intimate scale within your own family. So what's your unique talent? What's your unique talent? So let's move into our practicing the principles this week for laws 6 and 7 of our 7 spiritual laws of success. And I'm going to invite you to practice these every day this week. And the first in the law of detachment is to commit to practice detachment. Allow yourself and others the freedom to be as they are and not rigidly impose my ideas of how it should be. If you ever hear yourself this week say should, recognize that as a neon sign that says, okay, I am attached. I'm attached. And look at how you can let go of that and be detached. Make sense? Let go of that. Uncertainty. Be willing to accept uncertainty as a way of creation. It's the way of creation where we're in the mix of chaos and creativity, and uncertainty clears the slate to allow the good to come through us, the good that we desire without any how in the way. Any how in the way. Mike Dooley used to always say, stay out of the dreaded hows, right? That's not your job. You need to know what and focus on what, but not how. Allow this field of infinite possibilities. So when you clean that slate and you've got a blank slate in front of you, you're in the uncertainty, and then the creative process can begin in you. If you think about a car skidding, remember in driver's training, what they tell us, when the car skids, turn into the skid, right? And what's your first instinct? Make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. Right? None of us want to turn into the skid. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. But the uncertainty of letting go and going with the flow. Number 3, consciously open your awareness to the field of all possibilities. It's kind of like my aha moments. The 2 that I've had in the past couple of weeks is just opening my awareness to be open to something else, that I don't have all the answers. Oh my gosh, here, I thought I did all these years. I don't. And I'm allowing this greater awareness to come through me and to begin to connect some of these dots of frustration. Yes, I believe in the field of infinite possibilities. Why is it not manifesting in my life? Well, because you're limiting the field of infinite possibilities. You believe in the field of limited possibilities. That's what my talk should have been, the field of limited possibilities. Better title. So anyway, be open and to open your awareness to that field of infinite possibilities, not limited possibilities. So moving on to the practice of the law of Dharma. Deepak sums this up so well. I don't even know if I need to say more than what he said, which is discover your divinity. Do what it takes to discover and believe in your own inherent divinity. You are children of the Most High, of God, created of that essence and presence, that substance of one that exists. Discover your own divinity. Do that through your spiritual practices. Do that through your meditation. Come to Sarah's workshop. Find your unique talent. Ask your friends and family, what is it about me that makes me different from everybody else you know? Right? Ask your friends and family. They will tell you. They will tell you. Serve humanity with it. Serve humanity with it. And that can be serving one person, or that can be serving millions. Only you know what is yours to do there. And generate all the wealth that you want. All the wealth that you want through that sharing. So asking how I can serve, how can I help, being of service to humanity. Now Deepak suggests that in order to really embody these 7 laws, that we actually practice one law each day. So on Sunday, the law of pure potentiality. Everything about our day, focusing on the law of pure potentiality. Monday, the law of giving and receiving. Tuesday, the law of karma. Wednesday, the law of least effort. Thursday, the law of intention and desire. Friday, the law of detachment. Saturday, the law of dharma. Imagine focusing your entire day, your intention all day long, on that one law. And doing that for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And imagine how your life might be different. Imagine how your life might be different. So Deepak summarizes the book with the following quote. He says, "The universal mind choreographs everything that is happening in billions of galaxies with elegant precision and unfaltering intelligence. Everything is an expression of this intelligence, and this intelligence operates through the 7 spiritual laws." He draws the analogy of how the cells in our body operate. He's a medical doctor as well as a scientist and spiritualist. And he talks about how each and every cell of our body has consciousness, and it has its own job. It has its own unique talent to give. And it just gives that to the wholeness of the entire body. It gives that to the wholeness of the entire body to keep our bodies in alignment. And if you think about the human species being as advanced as it is with all the systems and things that we have and the way that it works, the miracle that we are, it is because, he says, and I believe, of this generous giving of every cell in our body and the consciousness that they have in the wholeness of each other. And it's a wonderful example for life for all of us, isn't it? It's a wonderful example for all of us. So I want to close out our series and read the last page of the book. And he says, "We are travelers on a cosmic journey, stardust, swirling and dancing in the eddies and whirlpools of infinity. Life is eternal, but the expressions of life are ephemeral, momentary, transient. Gautama Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, once said, 'This essence of ours is as transient as autumn clouds. To watch the birth and death of beings is like looking at the movements of a dance. A lifetime is like a flash of lightning in the sky, rushing by like a torrent down a steep mountain. We have stopped for a moment to encounter each other, to meet, to love, to share. This is a precious moment, but it is transient. It is a little parenthesis in eternity. If we share with caring, lightheartedness, and love, we will create abundance and joy for each other. And then this moment will have been worthwhile.'" So I want to thank you all for being here today and all month if you were here for our series and the exploration of our 7 spiritual laws. And I just really wish all of us today that all of our encounters, like he's talking about here in the book, that each and every one is precious to us this day and throughout the week. So would you join me in an affirmative prayer? So how good it is that we come together in community, in sharing of this beautiful teaching, this wonderful work, sharing of our hearts and our love with each other. In these transient moments that we do share and experience together, we recognize that we are one in God, that power and presence that holds those billions of galaxies in their perfect and right order is the order in which in our lives as well. Each and every cell of our bodies, each and every breath that we take. And so in this moment, I speak my word for about each of us, knowing that as we move through the week ahead, that we practice this idea of detachment, of letting go of those things that no longer serve us, those things that do not empower us, those things that do not bring joy and fulfillment to us, trusting in great faith that in the letting go, that the field of infinite possibilities is active and aware and moving through us, bringing to us the new and the good. And that as we practice our dharma for the week, our gift or gifts and talents, sharing those with the world, helping more people on our planet become more of what they seek, and knowing that all are richly rewarded for it. I bless this community. I bless each and every one that's here, those that couldn't be with us today, knowing that we're all in our perfect and right places. And so it's with a grateful heart, filled with joy and thanksgiving, that I just let this go. I let it go into the action of infinite mind, universal law, knowing that it is already done, because the word spoken is the word made manifest. So I just let it go and let it be, and we affirm together by saying, and so it is.